Hi there booktube, it's Eleanor here, and today I want to talk to you about the final What a Thrill book in my book of crime thrillers week. This time I'm talking about a book I listened to on Audible, on the on audiobook via the Audible app, and that is Sweet Pea by CJ Skuse. Now I sort of came across this by accident. I was looking for thrillers, I was looking for something to spend my credit on in the Audible app, and this cropped up. I've heard of CJ Skuse before. I think she did a book called Monsters, which I haven't read, but I'd heard good things about. And so I thought, well, why not? I'll give it a go. And the cover, as you can see, is really nice. So let me tell you a little bit about this. It was narrated by Georgie Mcguire, and I have to say the narrator for this was wonderful. I felt really like she was the character. I think she embodied the character really well, and it's really important because this book is in first person to have that voice and for that voice to feel authentic. So Rhiannon is a 20-something. She's your average girl next door, seemingly. She works in editorial, she's got a boyfriend, she's got a job, and she's talking, you know, she's got friends, and yet she is a serial killer. Victim to a really horrific crime during childhood. It's implied that possibly what happened could have been the sort of change that made her the way that she is. But the whole story is told in first person, as I said, in sort of the form of Rhiannon's internal monologues as well as sort of diary entries. At the start of every chapter, she lists all the people she wants to kill, including people like the man at Starbucks and various things like that. And there is a real dark sort of humour to this story. It's very sort of black humour, black comedy. So through these sort of diary entry / internal monologues, we're following Rhiannon's story both past and present, mainly in the present, but also obviously we're hinting at things that have happened in the past. She discusses those things in context with what's happening now, which builds up a backstory for us of Rhiannon's life. This reminded me very much of You by Carolyn Kepnes, although with a female protagonist, which I found better for me. You I quite enjoyed, but I sort of struggled to get connected. But being a female, I found it much more easy to connect, and yeah, that was a really interesting experience. It's important to note in this book that there is a severely bad language and extreme explicit sex and violence. There's lots of blood, there's lots of violence, there's lots of trash talk, there's lots of swearing and bad language. So if that's something that you don't want to read about or can't cope with, I definitely suggest that you don't read this. Because of this sort of black humour, sort of darker element, this sort of humorous side to it, you find yourself sort of kicking yourself halfway through or at certain points in the story for actually sort of empathising and agreeing with Rhiannon's thoughts. You have to keep reminding yourself, no, she's a serial killer, but you can't help it. You can't help but sort of feel some sort of kinship to her in some of the things that she's saying and some of the things that are going on, which is what makes it, I think, such a clever and interesting story. And at the start, Rhiannon's seemingly picking on men, and men that have you know, attacked and raped other women. She reads these newspaper reports because obviously she works at the newspaper. She's discovering men or unsolved sort of rape cases or ongoing rape cases. She places herself in these sort of locations where women have suffered this, and then she's finding her victims that way. And then we move into other things, and it becomes more obvious that perhaps Rhiannon's just odd and a serial killer. But this was well on track to being sort of a 4-star read for me, and unfortunately it ended up just being a 3-star, and that was just for the ending. I felt it ended extremely abruptly. I didn't feel like there was a solid conclusion and one that I felt comfortable with or happy with. I felt like, oh, it's finished, and I looked at my audio, I was like, maybe it's paused. But it wasn't, it had finished, and it was really that abrupt, and I didn't like that. There needed to be more. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a series, and perhaps we're going to get a second book which gives us a little bit more into what happens next. But it did feel like it ended a little bit too abruptly for me, and I wish there had been more. So in that's a good sign. I enjoyed it. There should have been more, but I can't give it 4 because it ended too quickly. So I definitely recommend this. Even though it's a 3-star, and a 3-star is good for me, it's not normally one that I would push so much. They're generally my 4 stars. But I really, if you like those sort of books, but you want to see something from a female perspective, I definitely recommend it. But just go in knowing that it does end quite abruptly. And if that doesn't bother you, then I think you'll really, really enjoy this. So anyway, that is Sweet Pea by CJ Skuse, and that is the end of my What a Thrill week. I am really pleased I did this. It's forced me to pick up some books that have been on my shelf for a while and to read some more crime thriller style books. So I'm looking forward to my next project, and I'll let you know more about that as and when. But thank you for watching, and I hope maybe you found a new crime thriller to pick up soon, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.